Good tidings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Landy Lodge podcast. Before we launch this episode, we have some special people we need to thank, those special people being the sages of the lodge, those who donate monthly to keep the lodge moving. If you'd like to become a sage of the lodge by donating as little as $1 a month, you can find a link in the episode description, be it whether it's on YouTube or any of the audio platforms. So, thank you to everybody, thank you to the Sages of the Lodge, and thank you for tuning in. And without further ado, let's get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not often I need to study for a podcast episode. It is not often that I get anxious about a podcast episode, but we have a guest and a topic in the lodge today that I think is going to blow your mind. But enough of me giving you this ear beating. Let's let the man introduce himself. The floor is yours, my friend.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Josh. I also go by xiii on social media. I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm a variety streamer. I play all sorts of games. RPGs are a huge focus of mine. I've been playing RPGs since the age of 4. My first video game ever was Final Fantasy VIII. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts since it first came out, so I was at the age of 5. I've been playing it for the past 20 years of my life, and it's my all-time favorite video game franchise. But yeah, Nick, thanks again, dude, for having me on. I'm truly excited for what we're going to be talking about.
Well, we're going to go in. We're going to go in. We're not pulling any punches today. I have a couple questions I want to ask you before we get rolling, but before we do that, a special shout out to Andy Brew and Stephcast, who recommended I reach out to you, and I'm very glad they did. And the little bit of rapport we built, I could tell you're a hell of a guy, you're a gentleman, and you have a real passion for this sort of stuff. And I think that's one of the things that has me so excited to talk to you today. But without further ado, you mentioned Kingdom Hearts. You said, you're a variety streamer. You mostly focus on RPG.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk Kingdom Hearts today. Why is Kingdom Hearts such a special series to you? And why do you love it as much as sickos like myself?
So what initially got me interested in the game franchise in general is I remember there was a TV trailer for Kingdom Hearts 1. And I remember just seeing tons of Disney. And I was like, okay, I love Disney. This is worth checking out. And then it showed a clip of Squall, or Leon, in Traverse Town?
Yes.
Yeah, Traverse Town. And I was like, oh, snaps! What is a Final Fantasy character doing in this? So I was like, okay, now I need to get this. So ever since playing it, just like the whole meaning with like friendship, hearts are, better when connected. And just Kingdom Hearts was truly a franchise, growing up, especially, being a huge introvert with just, being bullied in school. It was kind of like a safe haven for me. So it's a franchise that has just always been there for me at the right time. So it was just something I was always it felt like home when I played the game franchise, and it continues to still do so today. And I didn't even think my love for the series could grow even further. But with how Kingdom Hearts 3 and Rayman ended, I'm just like, this game, like you mentioned in our DMs, it just feels like this Dark Seeker saga was just backstory, and now we're finally getting into the juicy stuff.
That's really is how it feels. It feels like we've only just taken off. It's not a shot at the Darkseeker saga, by the way. Me saying it felt like backstory is not an insult, by the way, but it really feels like this was just setting the stage for everything that's happening now. And that kind of ties into what we're talking about today. So when I edit this, I'm going to put the pictures up because this is something we're definitely going to need a little bit of visual aid here. But I'll let you do most of the talking here. So we're talking about this particular image, the one with, it comes from, what is it? The Kingdom Hearts 1. You take over. You know where I'm going with this. You got it from here.
So I was scrolling through just tons of Kingdom Hearts clips and just secret endings, and I came across another story for Kingdom Hearts 1. And I noticed the ending clip. It was just a small clip of a girl running up to the shore on Destiny Islands, and we all presumed that it would be Kairi. Now, going back to that, I was like, that girl is awfully tall. The dressing is not even what Kairi was wearing, and the hair wasn't even remotely close to the red that Kairi normally has.
Or the length.
The length too. That was way too long, especially considering Kingdom Hearts 2. It was barely even, grown. It was barely even grown. And so one thing I took from that after playing Melody of Memory, was Apprentice Xehanort told Kairi in the Ark that if you were to arrive in a world that's neither of light nor darkness, but somewhere on the other side, I started to piece things together after looking at photos of the Nameless star, and I go, the dressing is awfully close. The hair is awfully close. The figure, the shape, everything is awfully close. What if the girl from the other side that we saw in the Kingdom Hearts 1 Another Side, Another Story ending was that girl? Because I forget who it is. He did a out of bounds for I think it was the 13th Vessel. He did an out of bounds for
he does a lot of
Quadratum.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and there was one thing that was shown, and it was Destiny Islands was used as a place for a location for emotional travel. And so another thing that I brought from this, actually, I'm going to reverse. I'm going to go back to that. So what I brought from that was Kairi is way too young, her hair is red, and she was way too short to be that specific girl that we all thought so. Now, going back, we're now in this whole topic of unreality fiction. The time of Kingdom Hearts Key is called the Age of Fairy Tales. And, sorry, I had a lump in my throat.
You're good, man, you're good.
And it's the distant past of the Kingdom Hearts universe due to the true Kingdom Hearts itself disappearing and falling into darkness, recreating in Key a fictional data version of the world that was swallowed by darkness in the Keyblade War. Now, this may have been just I was completely going off topic again. I was on track. I don't even know if this was just thrown in for reference, if it was just Nomura throwing a little hint that we just missed. But one thing I remembered was Buzz told Sora, "Oh, that's right, you're from a video game." Now, is that purely a coincidence, considering that we probably wouldn't have gotten to Yozora, Verum Rex, any of that, if it weren't for the Toy Story world itself? Like, it just had to be Toy Story for that to happen. And for Buzz to throw that little jab, just that little jab.
It begs a lot of questions. I want to dial you back. You laid out a lot there, so I want to flow through each of your little points and kind of flesh them out a little more. So starting with what the name of the movie was. The name of the movie is Another Side, Another Story. Now, I'm not one to think these words are being used so loosely, because in Melody of Memory, they were pretty deliberate about referring to Quadratum as another side. Like as Ansem the Wise explicitly would say, the world of light and darkness, they're on our side, but the realm of fiction is on another side. So your start and another story, too, implying that this is supposed to be two stories crossing over each other. Another side, another story. Look, it is not a controversial statement to say that we're seeing a revival of a lot of the concepts from Final Fantasy Versus 13. I'm sure
without a doubt. Yeah, with the second that I saw the Verum Rex trailer, I go, why does that look like Noctis? And then after, I got everyone I'm sure got their butt just completely just whipped by Yozora within the first 30 seconds. And just seeing that secret ending, bad nor good, or good, I was like, that's the trailer for Versus 13.
Yeah.
I was like, what is Nomura doing?
And that's the thing. Look, and again, people could be free to correct me. If you're out there listening or if you're out there watching, feel free to correct me. But it seems pretty heavily implied that Versus 13 and Kingdom Hearts, in a sense, were always sort of made for each other, right? You have Kingdom Hearts, who's Sora, the sky, and then there was Noctis, Night Sky, who's now Yozora, same meaning, Night Sky. It was always sort of implied that these worlds were going to interact with each other in some way, whether it was going to be canon or non-canon, like you see with the FF7 and FF8 characters in Traverse Town. But it was always sort of implied that these stories were going to cross over each other. And now, for this theory to be true, it would mean that Nomura had these concepts in his head for a while and always sort of had this plan. Now, I want to move to the image of the girl on the beach. You know, you brought up all the physical attributes do not line up with Kairi. That is not Kairi's height. That is not Kairi's hair. That is not Kairi's style. That's not her dress. That's not the way she dresses. it's also worth noting one thing that's consistent is Kairi's hair always mirrors Utada Hikaru.
Yeah.
Always. And that's not what her hair is like. Like, that doesn't mirror any of that. Like, in Kingdom Hearts 2, around that time, the hair was about shoulder length.
Shoulder
if you
length.
Look at the image here.
It goes down her back.
Down her back. And it's a different color.
Yeah, it's kind of like an ombre, like brown color.
Yes. So, and we were talking about this before we started rolling. To me, there's two possibilities here. And one of them is, that's not Kairi. That is not Kairi. So there's two possibilities. This Versus 13 crossover was always planned, and that is the Nameless Star, or something got changed along the way. Now, both are possible, but you look like a light bulb just went off in your head. Am I right?
I just had when you said that, you saying that if like Versus 13 could have possibly been a crossover, I just had a picture in my head of Stella when her and Noctis are like on the street getting ready to face each other. I'm pretty sure she's wearing a brown skirt and a white top.
Ooh, we'll have to check that. But that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure.
That's interesting.
I also thought as well that the fact that they're calling this just came to my head too. They're saying, you know, Quadratum. They're trying to say that it's fiction or unreality. And it's funny that they keep mentioning that when Versus 13 was supposed to be a fantasy based on reality. So
almost like a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is
mirror in the night.
The stuff that gets my head turning, man. This is I got, just so people have some history. We introduced ourselves to each other, and then you sort of came to me with this theory, and it set me down a rabbit hole. And I was like, we got to make this happen quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring up with the with her standing on the beach before we move on.
Yes.
Xehanort,
this was actually where I said I was going to come back to it. I had this thought last night, and I was like, I'm just going to bring it up during this. What if the reason why the Nameless Star is trapped in the final world, because that's where strong hearts that are too strong yet, you know, to let go, they have something that they're holding on to.
Strong wills, yeah.
What if in the process of perishing or whatever happened to her, in the process of dying, she was trying to picture herself or think of Destiny Islands as a place that she was wanting to go after death, some kind of life after death. And what if she thought about it so hard that her spirit tried crossing over and getting to that other side and got stuck in that final world because she doesn't have a body on the other side? Another vessel.
Let me build some credence into what you just said a little bit.
Yeah.
So it seems implied that you can, in a sense, will yourself into a world in Kingdom Hearts. That if you're someone whose world is lost or you perish, it's really, in a sense, what's going on in your heart that decides where you transfer or where you end up. Like for a lot of people, it's Traverse Town. When it comes to Kairi and Apprentice Xehanort, it's Destiny Islands. So there is this implication that whatever's going on in your heart, whatever you're willing, wherever you're, you know, feeling in those moments is kind of what dictates where you end up. And, you know, that's a pretty deep religious idea too, right? That like, if there's, like, take Christianity, for example. If there's darkness in your heart, to put it in Kingdom Hearts terms, you go to hell. If there's light in your heart, you go to heaven. Just to give an example of, you know, how this sort of idea works here. So I think you may very well be right that, in a sense, she might have willed herself into this spot. How she got there, though, is still a mystery. But we also don't know when this scene chronologically is. Maybe this is where she goes after the final world, so that we have maybe, like, who knows? Right now, I'm just going to make up a random theory here. Say when Riku used her to get into Quadratum, it sends Riku to Quadratum, and then maybe she got sent to Destiny Islands, and now maybe she's going to convene with all the Guardians or something. I don't know. It's just, we don't know when that scene chronologically is. This could be something that hasn't happened yet.
Could be. Because like, it could either be what I mentioned earlier, or maybe that little scene there is going to get used way later, and she was going there for emotional travel. Maybe something happened on the Kingdom Hearts side of the world, and maybe her spirit was trying to leave and go back to her real world and got stuck in the final world. It could go both ways, I feel.
Yeah, no, no, it's compatible both ways. That's interesting. Do you want to move on to Apprentice Xehanort yet, or do we have anything left for this particular image right here?
I think I'm good right there, yeah. And if
I come we can come back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we need to, we can come back to it. But let's move on to Apprentice Xehanort. We were getting on this before, where this is another example of them sort of implying this another side, another story. Mm-hmm. And here he is saying, if you end up in a world that's neither light nor darkness, but somewhere on the other side. It's like, here we go again. And like, I feel like we're in an age of seeing Kingdom Hearts 1 content, not necessarily rehashed, but revisited, like the way Kairi got to Destiny Islands through that portal machine.
Yeah, through the arc, yeah.
Yeah, the arc, that's a callback to Kingdom Hearts 1. It's like, I feel like we're almost in an era of Kingdom Hearts 1 callbacks now that the story is, in a sense, resetting itself.
Yeah.
Is there... I don't know. You got any thoughts on that?
With that whole part, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page, because I'm just like, they keep referencing this whole other side, this whole other story. And I think, yeah, it was mentioned that Xehanort had been studying that other side and about it for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I'm just like...
The implications of that, by the way.
How he's going to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. I mean, I don't even know where to be. So this is what I mean. These kind of theories, like, I feel like they allow my brain to think three things at once. And if I'm not careful... it's just going to be gibberish coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But what are the chances, right? Because now I'm looking at this image of her from the Verum Rex movie that you got posted in your thread here. And, in one sense we see her from the back, in another sense we see her from the front, but it's just looking eerily similar between the two of them. And I guess one thing we could maybe mention is, in that Another Side, Another Story movie, there's like a sort of shooting star in the sky.
Oh, are you talking about... Another Side, Another Story. I thought you were talking about the Verum Rex trailer.
I was, and then I hopped back.
Yeah, like it kind of like shoots across in front of her, right?
Yeah, I realized we completely forgot to talk about that. And what do you think that is? Do we have any leads on what the shooting star in the sky was? I mean, it's not a normal shooting star because it's daytime here.
Yeah. Damn, that's actually that's a good question.
And maybe, and that's the thing, we don't necessarily know that this is Destiny Islands either, right? We just know this is a beach.
Yeah, we're all just assuming it's Destiny Islands, because, like, where else is she going to be? The only beach we've ever seen is Destiny Islands.
Mm-hmm. I think, oh man. And you know what? Shit.
Okay.
My head is spinning.
So,
man.
I found the image.
Gotcha.
Of Stella. She's wearing a black skirt with a white top.
Okay, so not brown, but we got the white top.
Remotely close.
Is the top like a crop top like we're seeing in this photo?
Yeah.
Okay. And listen, we've had palette changes before. That's nothing new. If people can recall, I believe the colors on Envy's cloak changed from back cover to Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
So palette changes are nothing new. I just can't, it's like, all right, so let's try and play devil's advocate a little bit. If this isn't the Nameless star, then who could it be? Right?
I remember, I'm not going to take the credit for this because this was all Andy, but he was thinking, I think he mentioned, like, what if it's, I think it was Scold or Subject X, because we still have yet to know who that was.
True. I'm not sure that would be Scold, though.
Yeah, it was kind of just like what if, and then it was kind of just like, because there's...
And what's funny about that is I think Versus 13 was conceptualized before Key and Union Cross.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think, that was back in like 2005, 2006.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The concepts of Versus 13 are almost as old as Kingdom Hearts. That's another thing worth mentioning.
Those trailers, and again, with the oh shit. So Kingdom Hearts came out. My bad. Kingdom Hearts came out in 2005. We had
well,
this
I think
versus
2 came out in 2005. I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is 2002. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 is 2002, and I think 2 is either 2004 or 2005. I will look it up for us.
Yeah, because if he was gonna potentially
2005, you were right. 2005.
The first one.
The second one is 2005.
Second. Oh, okay. So if he did potentially was gonna cross those two over, like that can kind of line up.
That
because the Versus 13 came out 2006, or the
Versus
trailer.
13 trailer. That's another thing worth looking up. But in the meantime, while I dig that up, let me know what you think of this. Just had it. The symbolism, the like between Sora and Noctis and the whole throne symbolism, sitting on the throne. With,
oh
like,
yeah.
It again, clear parallels between the two.
Just completely mirrored.
Completely mirrored. And look, as we know now, Noctis, as we know him in 15, isn't necessarily connected to Sora. But you're starting to see a lot of the overlap in those ideas.
Yeah.
Let me look this up. Final Fantasy Versus 13.
I also DM'd you the picture of Stella on Twitter as well.
Okay. So I'm seeing trailer in HD on YouTube uploaded 12 years ago. So that would mean 2008 we saw that trailer. I don't know if that's when the trailer dropped or if that's just no, see here, I found another one 14 years ago.
Oh.
So yeah, you're about on the money, dude.
It is.
Like 2006, and like it's not like he thought of those concepts in 2006 and they made that. That's something that's in the works for a while.
In the works, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And look, and now we're here, and now Yozora is part of the story.
Yeah.
Like, and it fits.
And we
right?
have a look-alike Stella now. Like it's like it's basically like just like not like necessarily like basically like rehashed like whatever didn't work or make it in that he had for Versus 13 that just because 15 completely changed a lot of stuff, completely took it out of the Fabula Nova Crystallis, all of that. So there's so much that and like he said, only he knows the Versus 13 story. We've just seen whatever we saw. There's a lot of symbolism, there's a lot of similarities, but he's right. Only he knows the story. So it's like we're probably going to get the Versus 13 story, maybe switched up a bit to where it, will fit in with Kingdom Hearts and all that. But it would have worked.
Exactly. I mean, look, here's the thing. I know a lot of people kind of see this as like Nomura's great revenge. You know what I mean?
I was like, sweet Nomura.
Which is fun to think about in theory, but at the end of the day, I can't help but feel like it's not so much revenge. Like, he was going to do this anyway. Whether he got to finish Versus 13 or not, he was going to do this.
Yeah, and sure, like, not, and sure, like, I feel like the only, like, jab that can be, like, is Yozora, because Noctis, like Sora, was his baby, and they took that from him.
Yes. And I think,
but when it comes to the story, that's probably not like a jab at Square. That's just like, this didn't get told. I'm still desperately wanting to tell this story, so I'm going to tell it in another way.
It's his another side, another story. It's his vision.
Exactly.
It's his vision, and he's just seeing it through to fruition. Oh boy, lost my train of thought for a second there.
Oh.
But I guess what I was going to say here, Yozora fits. You know what I mean? Like. It doesn't feel like it's thrown in. I know maybe some people might disagree with that, but he almost feels like he was just this missing ingredient the whole time.
Yeah.
And he fits perfectly into Kingdom Hearts 3's story and turned out to be the entire crux of the epilogue.
Yeah.
You know?
That is insane.
Like,
that was truly insane.
So the arc is connected to getting Kairi to Destiny Islands and is part of us being introduced to the idea of this other side. And that's something from Kingdom Hearts 1. That means that concept has been alive since Kingdom Hearts 1. It just, the more I think about it and the more I try to wrap my head around this thing, the more I can't help but just see it's all coming together like a puzzle piece. And that's something about Kingdom Hearts I love, is like, it's almost like putting a giant jigsaw puzzle piece together. And like with Yozora existing, suddenly this corner that's just been empty is starting to fill in.
Yeah. It's like you buy a puzzle piece that has missing pieces, and then it's like you have this big thing that's introduced, and it's like, oh, there it is. There's the missing pieces.
That's what we were looking for. It's starting to trip me out, man.
What really interests me is his attire, because it's like he has
Yozora's.
Yeah, like he has a like the fact that he's a chocobo. That's from Final Fantasy on his sweater. So is it like in his world is Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy like video games to them, and he loves Final Fantasy?
I think,
and he even has like yes. Kingdom Hearts. He has like what nobody earrings as well.
He has like like the nobody earrings, and he's got keyblades.
Keyblades with a skull. Yeah, I remember hearing Andy's
Keyblade Hunters video.
Yeah,
I hope he's right about that. That's such
that would
a
be
cool
insane.
Concept.
That would be nuts.
Cool concept. Oh my lord. But yeah, like there's just constant nods that he almost has this, not insider knowledge, but he has these concepts. Like that's why he's like, Sora? You're Sora? I've heard of you. You know? What do you think? I know some people think the Nameless Star's name is Sora.
That would be so silly.
Yeah, I'm not about it.
I feel like that would be so silly.
Some people think that's such a big brain move, but I'm like, I don't like that.
Like, I didn't like put this into the theory because like my head just thought of it and I didn't think of anything else, so I didn't have anything to back it. But I was like, at one point in Kingdom Hearts 3, young Xehanort throws Sora into the Verum-Rex game. So it's like, what if there was like another like he created something else within that?
Yo, and you know how you brought up earlier that Xehanort had knowledge of that world?
Yeah.
So that might be way more intentional than we thought, him throwing Sora into that world. Like, that might have been way more intentional than any of us gave it credit for. Because, like, at the time, right?
Because, like, out of all things, he throws him through the freaking screen.
Yeah, right? Deliberately. Like, he was in complete control of that situation, holding the dude by his wrist, in complete control. He could have thrown him anywhere. He threw him through that screen.
But it was through where just Yozora, of all places. So I was just like, what if, like, that had some sort of effect in his world? Like, what if, like, especially given the fact that when everyone got wiped out and, oh, darkness prevailed, light expired, what if Sora coming back and, watching everything happen and everything changed, created an alternative universe, and maybe the Sora in that other universe, maybe something, he just screwed shit up?
Something. I can't, what I think of it is like, so he defied a law of nature. Like, that's kind of what, the way he used the power of waking kind of defies the structure of reality in the Kingdom Hearts world. So he pays this ultimate price. But I don't think the consequences of messing with the fabric of reality stop at Sora disappearing. Just to build some, credit onto your point. It's very possible that him literally, again, changing the fabric of reality just opened up all these other doors and could have just been the beginning of like this merger of fiction and nonfiction, but in a weird way, because it's implied that it's a mirror, right? Like Sora, Yozora, Sky, Night Sky's a mirror. I even think the chapter is named Mirror, or one of the songs is named like Mirror.
Mirror of the Night, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So like that concept is there a lot too. So it's very possible, and you were bringing this up earlier, that when the Kingdom Hearts characters are looking into Quadratum, they see a fictional world. And then when Quadratum looks into Kingdom Hearts, they see a fictional world.
Right.
Like, nobody exists and thinks they're in fiction, right? Like, you and I could just be characters in a book right now, and we'd have no idea. But, like, we're not like, oh, yeah, we're the fiction people. Yeah, we do the fiction things. Like, everyone who's kind of living doesn't really see themselves that way.
Yeah.
But just, I guess, to rein us back into all of this. So, if that is truly the Nameless Star, do you think she's currently in Quadratum? Or do you think, as I was kind of painting in earlier, in a sense, her and Sora switch places, where like she's with our Guardians now, and Sora's in Quadratum? They switch
places.
Something like that, right? Because is it possible that you could use her as a portal or as a means to transfer worlds, and she's just gonna stay there? But I guess she would need a body, right?
Yeah. She's just chilling there, just waiting, waiting
Oh,
to be
she's
saved.
waiting. Yeah, yeah. Which I guess is where some people get the save Sora thing from. But anyway, let me take a peek at this image you sent me on
And
Twitter.
I just found it strange as well that like around the same time Yozora was introduced, that now finally Nomura decides to tell Kairi's backstory. Like I feel like there has to be something about that.
See, now
Something about that.
that corner's looking clearer and clearer. You're right, and this is why I think people got it wrong. The Nameless Star is not going to be named Sora. The Nameless Star is going to parallel Kairi. Like that's what we're looking at here. It's going to be like sort of this mirror realm, you know, where Yozora is in a sense a mirror to Sora, and then we're going to have the Nameless Star, who's in a sense a mirror to Kairi. I think her
I feel
name.
like that was overlooked. I feel like that was so overlooked. Like he started telling Kairi's backstory around the same time Yozora became.
Almost as if again, and this is why I can't help but feel like almost like the whole first saga is just setting the stage for what the real vision was.
Yeah.
You know, the ultimate crossover. I think something that's, and God, I apologize to all my listeners because you've heard me say this to death, but this is the thing that makes me so in love with Kingdom Hearts right now. Is God, again, I apologize for everyone who's heard this like 10 times, but it's truly one of them. It's truly the thing I love so much about what's going on. If you recall the ending of Dream Drop Distance, when Ansem the Wise is talking about like Sora and why he's special, like perhaps he has the power to recreate the hearts and existences of those connected to him, to recreate people we thought were lost to us forever. And you know what? That in context, that makes perfect sense about xiii and Roxas and Aqua. But think about that. Let's take that to the next level. That's Nomura's vision he's talking about. Sora has the power to revive this Versus 13 vision, and that's what we're seeing unfold between us. Like we thought that that Noctis / Yozora and the Nameless Star, we thought these characters were going to be lost forever when Nomura was taken off 15.
Right.
No, Sora has the power to recreate the hearts and existences of those connected to him. And if Final Fantasy Versus 13 was always meant to connect to him, that would put that speech in perfect context to what's going on now.
Dude.
Like, I don't know. We all have our biases, right? Like, we all have our biases. But it's just, I feel it lining up. I don't know. It's like, if we're not right, I think I said this to you before, if we're not hitting a bullseye, I feel like we're circling
We've got to be
drain.
somewhere, like, we've got to be onto something, at least something. Like
We're circling the drain. And not only that, we're going to Quadratum, which is like a total allegory to Square. So it's like, Sora has to go to Square Enix to be like, hey, people want Versus 13. Give it back. And then bring it back with them.
and like Nomura has even like put things that were in, I think it was Insomnia, that was shown in the Versus 13 trailer in Quadratum, like that building that you can see in the far distance behind Sora when you start the battle initially. It was like that scene where Noctis and Stella were like at some sort of like they were dressed up at some sort of like fancy like dinner gathering, it seemed. They had that, and then I think there was also like a soccer field or something like that was in Insomnia as well. That's like off to like the far like left of Sora. So like he's grabbed things that weren't shown, weren't used, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take this, we're gonna put that here, put that here.
Yeah, it's very. It seems he's a wild man. He's a wild man. But it
just
seems.
Laughs.
What a great job. What a great job. But like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking at the picture you sent me, by the way, so I'll pull that up when I edit this. Yeah, the top looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. The
hair length is the same as well.
Hair length is the same, and while the body frame is the same, and while the skirt is a different color, it looks like the same skirt.
You know what? It looks like this. It looks like the exact same skirt without that belt. Without that belt.
Yeah. I see. There's a belt in there.
Again, like you mentioned, attire changes. Make it exactly the same as her.
And also, this is her city attire. What we're seeing is her more beach attire. Because, like, if you see, she does have the white crop top, but she seems to have something underneath it.
Yeah, kind of like a black like top or something.
Yeah. So you know, that's probably her city attire, and then over here we're looking at her beach attire. But so look, let's see, how far into this are we? Okay,
Wow.
we are well over 30 minutes. Is there anything about this theory that you wanted to touch on or flesh out that we haven't yet?
Honestly, like the fact that we even just had more just light bulbs going off in our head from this, we literally touched on everything. Like I even had a whole just like thing just planned out of things I was gonna mention, talk about. We've completely cleared those and just put layers on top of those. So now I'm gonna be leaving this like, all right, how can I expand from this now?
Yeah,
And
right.
maybe even come up with something else.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. I know we opened the show talking about, you know, why Kingdom Hearts is such a special series, and I think one of the main things is a lot of what you're seeing happen in real time in this conversation between you and I. It has this ability to spark the imagination,
Yeah.
unlike any other game series I've played. Like you said, you come into this, you have this structured view on this theory, and then we talk about it for what, 30 minutes, and now there's a whole other world of things to start dissecting. Like it's really something special, because you know what,
Yeah.
like, you know, the imagination is much more powerful when you're a child. And like, you know, you and I have both grown up now. We're grown men in our 20s. But here we are. It still has this way to ignite that fire and get you thinking and pontificating. And where will this go? What are the possibilities? What are the implications? Like, one thing I still have not, like, I lose sleep over is Xehanort knowing about this world.
Yeah.
And like, we fleshed that out with young Xehanort deliberately throwing Sora into it.
Yeah.
Like,
of all places,
is Xehanort done? Like, that's my question. Like, I think we'll see him in flashbacks and other ways, like we've seen. But I'm so. This is what I mean. And now there's three things going on in my head. But do you think his role that he knew? Oh, God damn it! Do you think he deliberately was trying to merge these two worlds or connect them in some way? Or do you think this is something he stumbled upon and then put it to the side so he could focus on his vision?
I feel like somehow, someway, because he wanted, you know, all this change. Like he wanted, you know, light, darkness to expire, whatever the heck. And the fact that Quadratum is neither light nor darkness, it could have been very possible that he wanted to somehow, you know, open up Kingdom Hearts and maybe, you know, bring all this together. And this was something that, this was like something small that I had, and this, I feel like this probably was talked about somewhere, somehow. But when Apprentice Xehanort was like, when you go to another wielder's world, it's the only way to save ours. It's more than an experiment, it's hope. And then there's the whole thing that the box contains hope. So it was like, what if that was just some sort of portal to Quadratum? We see the Master of Masters in Quadratum. And while he's there, Lushu's to not open the box. Why is that?
No idea. Like, I think about the box a lot. I think about that freaking box a lot.
Yeah.
I really do believe, and there's a video on my channel about this, but I really do believe it's going to be similar to Pandora's box. Because if you notice, in Kingdom Hearts 3, we first get introduced to the concept of the box. We're obviously introduced before 3, but it's when Pete's digging and he finds Pandora's box, and Maleficent's like, that's not it. So he tosses it away. In a way, I almost see that as a tip of the cap, because in the Pandora's box myth, when Pandora's box opens and all the ills of the world flood out, when Pandora closes the box, do you know what the one thing to stay in the box is?
Hope.
Hope. And then you got Luke Sword saying that the box contains hope.
Hope.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is some sort of power play in some way. I think.
And then again, like, Nomura's been introducing Greek mythology. He's just pulling things in now out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So, like, that could be possible. He might even be just like, okay, we know about Pandora's box. Let's just bring that into this as well.
Drag and drop that in here. But, like, I think about that box a lot, and I've been playing with the idea that it has to be opened at the right time, obviously, because you know he instructed Lucio, you can never ever open it.
Right.
But there's got to be something in that box that's a little grotesque or repulsive, because when he whispered it in Lucio's ear, Lucio's like,
he was like, what?
like, but why? Like, why? He's like, you'll see. That's why I have to think there's something grotesque in there. Like, maybe, random idea that just popped in my head. Maybe the master put one eye in the Keyblade, and maybe he's got another eye in the box, or something. I don't know. It could be anything at this point. I'm so lost. But Jesus. Also, do you find it? That's the other thing. I know we're spiraling into a million different things here, but something I've been thinking about.
The beauty of Kingdom Hearts.
That is the beauty of Kingdom Hearts. I'm starting to wonder if Lucio is a master replica. Because the master tears out his eye, so it's implied he's a one-eyed kind of guy. Right. And now we got...
Oh, and he has one eye.
It's almost like he's slowly forming into him. Like, you know, like he's... Like, Lucio was like a larva state. You know? Lucio was like this larva state master. And through his role and through all this time, he's almost like cocooning and growing. I don't know. Random idea.
If he became the master of masters... Like, the reveal itself that Xigbar was Lucio, we had a noise complaint because I used to live in Arizona in apartments. I'm back in California now, but when that was revealed, my chair flung to the floor and I was screaming, "Oh God! Oh shit! Oh!" I was freaking out. The next day, our landlord called over and was like, "Is everything going okay?" Like, we heard a bunch of yelling, and I was overly excited about a video game. Like, that's how insane that reveal was to me. And I was just like the Master of Masters either has to top that, or there just has to be like this insane buildup where it's like, Lucio's the Master of Masters for coming again, but we're having this just seeing it be undone, and it's just like, I feel like that can be just as good as a reveal, because it's like he's already like being portrayed now as he's gonna have this. He's gonna be insanely crucial more than ever. The reveal itself and leading up to it was just boof.
It was one of those things. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, it's like you didn't overreact at all, because you got to understand, you and I we've been playing these games for 20 years now, okay? Yeah. And like, Braig was Braig and Xigbar was Xigbar. And like, that's just what it was for 20 years. And then he takes his hood off, and like 20 years of memories just start changing shape in your head and recalibrating. Like, but then that would mean this, and then that would mean this. Like, I'll tell you what my reaction was. The second he took that hood off, you would think, like, you ever see The Exorcist? Where where they come out of the TV screen, you would think that's what I was like. Oh, like, it was just like, why, how, what does that mean? What has this done? Yeah. Like
that was one of, like, I don't know if anything could beat that, because that was such an insane reveal.
My favorite twist, maybe in all of storytelling, because it changed.
Yeah.
It changed
20 years
everything. Of content in a second.
It changed everything, yeah.
Like, you see a twist in a movie, and it changed.
And it's like, oh shit, that's it. But it's like, with this, it's like everything that we knew just poof,
gone. Right? Like, in a movie, your last hour and a half changed. Big
deal.
The last
20 years of my life.
And you know what? He's a sly fox, because he said in an interview, you know, more people in the fan base need to pay attention to Xigbar. He does say this in an interview. He's like, no one's really watching him. Really should.
I remember hearing about that, and that apparently someone was going through either cutscenes or like the secret reports, and apparently like there was little things and jabs that I think it was Braig that he had said that kind of referenced that he was also from another time before his current life as Braig. But
Did he say that as Braig, or was that when he was Xigbar?
I can't remember. It was like shortly after that whole reveal, because I was on YouTube. I was like waiting for the theories to just start rolling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I, Jesus. Well, look, we're coming up on time here. I want to leave a little bit of time so you could plug yourself, kind of give a closing statement on this theory. I want to just make it clear, this, this was your theory. You came to me with it. I'm overjoyed that you would want to come on the pod and talk about it. Really, I have a lot of gratitude for you choosing to do that. So thank you.
Yeah, dude, truly, thank you for having me on. Just like the fact that you reached out and you were like willing, to hop on this as well and just bring it to life, because I wanted to bring it to life somehow. And the fact that we were able to just get two big brains together and just even expand it even further it was truly just fantastic. So thank you again, man. It was a pleasure being on the show.
Well, thank you, man. No, you're welcome. You're welcome in the lodge anytime. It's an open invitation. If you have anything you want to talk about, whether it's a theory or if you just want to generally talk Kingdom Hearts and come on here, that is an open invitation to you. We got a few minutes left here. I want to let you have your closing statement on this theory, close out the episode, and then plug yourself. Let people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Dude, this theory was truly something insane. Like, I felt like I was onto something. And then the fact that you were just like, when I pitched it to you, you were just like, no, you either are on the money or you're circling around it.
Yeah.
And just what we were able to come with this, I was just, it has me even more excited. And now my brain, I know for a fact, when I'm trying to focus on work, I'm trying to think of something, it's going to be like, nope, guess what? Brain blast, fucking just Jimmy Neutron going through my head, and then just notepads pulled out, and then next thing you know, I'm gonna be like, Landy, this needs to happen again.
We got another one.
We're
reeling in another one.
But yeah, dude, again, thank you so much for having me. Again, guys, I stream on Twitch. I'm at twitch.tv/Joshish. I'm gonna let the normies and the sickos and on a little juicy secret that I let you in on. I'm going to be opening up a clothing line very, very soon. It's going to be called Mob Culture. It's going to be called Mob Culture. We're going to be releasing black shirts at launch. It's going to be Japanese aesthetically theme. I'm a huge fan of Japanese aesthetic. It is chef's kiss. I'm going to be shortly but soonly, I would hope. I want to get back on YouTube, so my YouTube is also Joshish. Twitter, Instagram, all of that is /Joshish. But again, Nick, dude, thank you so much for having me in the lodge, man. It was truly a pleasure.
Dude, the sickos and normies, on behalf of them, they welcome you anytime. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll have all his links in the description. If you're listening on the audio platforms, I'll have a few of his tags in the episode description. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Of course, thanks for having me, man.
Andy and Steph, thank you for recommending this
boys
into the lodge. Very much appreciated from both of you. Sages of the Lodge, thank you so much for all that you do. None of this is possible without you. We're going to close this thing out. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. Look into my man, Josh. This man's making big moves. And when you launch that clothing line, man, come back on the lodge. Free plug. Free plug,
dude,
baby.
All you bet. I'm actually going to DM you because I want to send you, you don't even got to, grab it yourself. I want to send you it personally, for sure.
Oh, dude, I will be a consumer of said product. Don't you worry. But listen,
appreciate you a ton, man. Thank you.
Of course. Hearts are stronger when connected. I say that so much. People must be sick of hearing it. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Josh, thank you again. We'll catch you on the next one. It's a beautiful time to be a Kingdom Hearts fan.
Truly.
Peace out.
See ya.